Another Tuesday means another set of patch notes, so we're bringing you guys this patch's broken things. Make sure you send that like button straight into outer space by clicking it so that we know you guys are enjoying this format and we can keep bringing it to you. And of course, smash that sub button harder than you smash your ranked games so that you can keep in touch with all the guides we put out. But now, let's jump right in. First up, and you guys might not even be surprised to see this one coming, but really, Fiddlesticks is still absolutely broken. At this point, I just feel like all of us have to be going absolutely insane, because it seems like Riot isn't realizing that this change to Fiddlesticks does almost nothing. If we rewind time and look at patch 10.10 before Fiddlesticks was even buffed in 10.11, his win rate was still super good. He didn't need buffs in the first place, it's not even close. But then despite that, after they buffed him, they decided that his nerf here is to take off 10% minion damage on his W, which is only a small portion of the buffs that they handed to him last patch. Now, I know for a fact that I don't have 200 years of game design experience, but if you guys do, let us know in the comments because, well, you must be a time wizard and that's pretty sick. But does it not just make sense to revert his buffs since he was already good and see if he's still a great jungler? Instead, he's just going to remain as one of the best junglers in the game for another patch. He's incredibly strong in higher elos and still really good in lower ones, and he never needed a buff in the first place. So we'll have to see if Riot decides to change this for next time, but right now I can guarantee you that Fiddlesticks is absolutely broken. For our next broken thing, let's break down something that's definitely confused everybody, including me too. Volibear has been, let's say, hard to handle since his rework, and I mean, that makes sense. He's a polar bear stormlord. Can you imagine trying to control a polar bear, let alone one that controls lightning? But really, let me break down what Riot Lutzberg, the Rioter leading the team behind Volibear, has to say here on a post he made to the Volibear subreddit. First of all, they got a lot of bug fixes and clarity updates coming to the bear, and they're also giving him small buffs to his health, mana, attack speed, and more to other things throughout his kit. Everything here makes Volibear more consistent, easier to control, easier to understand, and slightly stronger, which sounds great. I'll just rapid fire the numbers and effect changes here because there's a ton of them. Your Q basic attack becomes unstoppable, it also scales with your attack speed, it'll properly reset 100% of the time since the attack can't be interrupted, you continue to auto attack targets after you use your W and E automatically, R damage radius is bigger and hits harder, and he must need all of these, right? He was performing like total trash, he has to need it. Well, that's where the details actually shocked me. Turns out, despite what you and I can see on stats websites, Riot's internal data shows that Volley has a 49% win rate in the jungle for average players. The hotfix buff was responsible for roughly 3% of that. And for all of you in silver, bronze, iron, and actually even a solid chunk of gold, Volibear is doing pretty well. But the good news doesn't stop there. Mr. Lutz says that the Volibear win rate has been rising each day, and this is coming straight from you guys. You guys are out there playing him, learning him, adapting your runes, experimenting with item builds, and bringing out the true beast in Volibear. The time you've taken to learn Volibear is going to pay off even more with these incoming buffs. And if he truly turns out to be OP and one of the most broken champions in the game, you are already in position to get so much LP that you deserve for the work that you put in. Anytime a new champion is released, they always start out pretty poor and they keep improving as patches go along, players learn them, figure out what's best, and eventually they settle down at a point. And for Volibear, it seems like we're nowhere close to that mark, at least that's what the Rioters are saying. And nobody's getting left behind either. For you guys who play Volley top, don't think that way. Some of the buffs and bug fixes that are specifically in this patch are way more impactful for Volibear top, and your day will come too. They also plan to give Volley more changes to help him in higher elos if these ones aren't enough. Really, I can't stress this enough, guys. I called Volibear OP in the past, and while I was 100% wrong on his release, as he was definitely just average, I also predicted something if I was wrong. And it's coming true literally right now. Volibear is getting buff after buff within a single patch of his release, and you guys are still learning more and more about him every day, making him better and better. Make sure you are ready for when he actually truly becomes broken, because it won't last forever, and you might get left behind. There's no better place to stay ahead of the curve and not fall behind than our website, where we have tons of guides all done by challenger level players. No matter what level of skill you have, what your end goal is, we have something up there for you that can help you learn and improve. All of our guides get to go super in-depth, way more in-depth than we can here on YouTube, And we have everything ranging from role-specific guides to champion-specific guides to macro guides that focus on things outside of just your champion and everything in between. So make sure you go check us out at GameLeap.com to make sure you're playing 5D chess while your opponents are stuck there playing checkers. And now that you're well on your way to having LP flowing your way, let's talk about our next broken thing. And this one isn't actually a champion, although it does make some champions ridiculously strong. Let's talk about Ghost. This summoner spell used to be absolutely insanely bonkers giga broken. Do you happen to know how Riot nerfed it? Even if you weren't playing back then, I'm sure you could figure it out. You could take a guess. Pre-nerf, Ghost's movement speed had no ramp up. It was instant, long-term, high movement speed, and now it's back. You ever escape from somebody like a Flash Ghost Darius or a Flash Ghost Tryndamere? If the answer is yes, chances are you escape with only a tiny bit of health left because you barely survive. Well, you could say goodbye to all of those because anytime that's happened, you are now dead. Oh, I'm sorry, you're a jungler ganking the mid lane? Yeah, sorry man, but they ordered the new pair of Heelys and can just skate under their tower before you can even hit them with a single spell. Try again within the next 3.5 minutes, assuming that they can be ganked during that time. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised to see junglers besides Hecarim taking Ghost more. You guys better watch out for that level 1 Udyr sprinting at you with 420 movement speed on an invade, because Udyr players are crazy enough to do that, let me just tell you that right now. And I'm sure any of you guys who happen to be Udyr players can vouch that in the comments. Now, I'm not going to pull a number out of a hat and slap it into the sentence because that would be incredibly arrogant and also not based in fact. But let me just say now that Ghost is better than Flash in a lot of scenarios. Even at level 1, Ghost is like having a pair of Swifties or better on any champion, and it happens instantly. Oh yeah, and now Ghost lasts longer if you get a takedown. So I guess everybody using Ghost is just Master Yi 2.0, riding around on Heelys, sweeping through the rift and killing everybody in their path. Darius and Tryndamere were only 2 examples that just immediately came to my mind. But you could think of champions like Victor who like to take Ghost, whether they're being played in the bot lane, the mid lane, or even the top lane. In the past, when Ghost was broken like this, Cassiopeia was a champion who took it all the time because she could really use the mobility in the early stages of the game when she couldn't buy boots. Champions who focus on kiting like Anivia, who has a ton of slows and 1 heart CC, can really use Ghost well too, because if she gets hit, most of the time she gets taken down instantly since she's very squishy until she has items. Ghost allows her to address that weakness and still have a really strong summoner spell in the late game. And I mean, hey, she's actually a champion who can take Unsealed Spellbook as well, but that's another type of champion who can abuse this. Because Ghost is so strong, Unsealed Spellbook users can have it as their default spell and use it all the time for even more mobility throughout the game while still having the flexibility of other stuff. On the flip side, if they really need teleport or ignite or something in their lane, if you take Unsealed Spellbook, you can swap to Ghost because it's that much more broken now, as if it wasn't already pretty strong. Mid laners who focus on kiting and auto-attacking a lot and don't really have too much CC on their own, like Corki or Twisted Fate, could also use this really well. Honestly, the more I'm thinking about it, the more tilted I'm getting, because I'm just like, wow, this is so broken on so many different things. So before I get carried away, let's cover one last thing, and this time we're talking about a rune, Unflinching. This rune was super troll in the past. Very few champions could use it effectively. The idea was just so silly because when you're using summoner spells, you'd want to be getting away from CC, not taking more of it. This is an exception on some champions, like people who can do really sick flash engages or are just super frontline tanks. You could also have a little bit more safety when you had no summoner spells, but in that case, you could also just be playing less risky and not get hit by the CC in the first place while you have no summoner spells. So that made zero sense as well. But now, oh my god. Right, it's like, hey, you want Tenacity? I heard you really like Tenacity. Are you sure you don't want it? I heard you like to buy Merchas and take a Legends Tenacity a lot, but do you want more? Because I heard more is really good, actually. Or even if you don't like that, that's okay. It's fine. It's really good, man. You should just try some. Please, hey, I'm doing you a favor, man. Please try it. This new rune is so disgustingly broken. It's not even funny. You automatically gain 10% slow resistant Tenacity, and you get up to 20% more based on your missing health. If I could make a Mia ping sound with my mouth, this is where I would do it. If you combo this with either Merc Treads or Legend Tenacity, you just walk around swinging your 37% Tenacity like a spiked baseball bat at anybody you can see within range. And when you lose a sizable chunk of HP, your Tenacity spikes all the way up to 51%, which is equal to what Legend Tenacity plus Merc Treads normally gives you. And if, by the will of the Rito gods, you play a champion who can take Legend Tenacity and Unflinching, you're completely unstoppable. Excuse me while I go stop this Tryndamere, whose main weakness is CC and kiting with slows, with his newly found 5 seconds of death immune, 51% Tenacity, 30% slow resist, berserker barrage of damage on my AD carry's health bar. Don't forget, he also uses Ghost, which we literally just talked about. Like, what are your options to deal with that? You don't have any. Unless your entire team just has the ability to throw somebody like that Tryndamere into a trampoline and keep him permanently in the air, somebody on your team is going to die. There's only two forms of unreducible CC in League of Legends. That is suppressions, which can be freed through the use of QSS, or knockups, which need to have some sort of mobility spell like Flash and QSS for it, otherwise you're out of luck. So if you're packing the really sick team of like Zillion Zac Alistar who just sits on the Tryndamere's head until he can't move anymore, then okay, you have a chance, but for everybody else, it just sucks. And I've dedicated a hot minute to Tryndamere now, but he's not the only one. You ever just permanently kited Darius through all 4,000 of his health because, like Tryndamere, his weakness is CC and slows? Yeah, I remember when that was possible before the Riot Nation attacked on patch 10.12. The even sillier part of all of this is that all these champions can now afford to buy the recently buffed Swifty boots if Ninja Tabi aren't that good versus the enemy team, which can happen if they have physical damage but they aren't auto attack reliant, because the main buff of Tabi is reducing the auto attack damage. That's even more movement speed and slow resist to negate their weaknesses, considering that they already have such a crazy amount of tenacity. And let me go through a couple more. Mundo has 30% tenacity on his W already. He can now reach high tenacity with yet another rune or item combination, allowing him to take any of Merc's, Legend Tenacity, or Unflinching depending on his role and what rune he's taking in that specific matchup. The Swifty's rule applies here too. Kled already likes to take Resolve Secondary sometimes. He has the option of taking Unflinching plus Legend Tenacity for even more grueling combat power against high CC if Demolish isn't good in his lane. Aatrox has potential with this rune, Jax has potential, Fiora has potential. I could do this literally all day, but that's not our goal. We've already passed our goal because I've given you guys 4 broken things on patch 10.12. Remember when Riot had like patch 10.4 when they buffed Sunfire Cape and all the Bomby Cinder items and all of a sudden it was the tank meta? Well yeah, this patch is the fighter meta. Anybody who could take advantage of high tenacity like fighters such as Tryndamere or juggernauts like Darius, you guys are in right now. And to learn how to play these champions or just improve in general, you guys should definitely go check out our website GameLeap.com, where we have tons of guides all done by challenger level players. You want to pick up a champion who abuses one of the broken things we mentioned in this video? We have a guide for you. If you're looking to pick up specific skills on a lane, we have guides for you. If you're looking to learn macro and learn how to play around the map and abuse your leads so that you can win games even more convincingly and win more of them, we have guides for you. All of our website videos get to go super in depth and focus on one topic, so we get to give you guys the best information possible there. And if you made it this far, thanks for watching the whole video. Honestly, this patch has me losing my mind, and I'm sure you guys could tell after a while. Sometimes I understand what Riot's doing on the back end, other times I'm just like, I don't know what they bought, but whatever it is, it must be really powerful. What are your guys' opinions on these changes? Do you see the same problems I do? And anyways, as always, my name is Ace Windstorm, and I will see you all later.
We only serve paying customers, so you'll have to order more than water. If you're broke, go somewhere else.